This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-Made, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-Made, no rain.
Hey, now it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD, by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
Nice. I had a day off today. It was nice. I sat at Panera and I read comics, and I came home and I watched the show from last night, and I did absolutely nothing today. It's the first time in I don't know how long that I've just done nothing all day. It was great.
That sounds amazing.
It was.
Thank you guys for being here. This is not our debut episode on Sunday nights, but this is the official launch of your Sunday night's main event right here on the Voices of Wrestling Network. We have officially moved over to Sunday nights. I made it official by typing up a really beautiful press release. I hope everybody got a chance to read that. I worked really hard on those ChatGPT prompts, so I hope everybody got an opportunity to read that. JD, thank you for providing a quote for that. I thought that was really well done.
Man, I was reading that thing and I'm like, I don't remember saying this. And then I remembered who I was dealing with here. I'm like, oh, Mike AI generated. That's good. I got a good laugh off of that.
Yeah. You know, I purposely left in the ChatGPT logo when I put the press release on Twitter, just to see if anybody would catch it.
I didn't.
DJ Convoy actually caught it, and he gave me some shit for it. He goes, because he actually writes press releases, I think, and he goes, that's actually better than what I normally do. So fuck you.
I got bad news for everybody about the future of AI. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Jeremy Feinstein's with us. I'm going to introduce you here in a second, but again, thanks everybody for being here on Sunday night. We haven't really talked about why we moved to Sunday night, and the answer is simple. It became increasingly more difficult for us to go on Thursdays with JD's work schedule, and then me. I'm here in Hawaii. It's fucking 5:30 right now on a Thursday night. I don't get off work till 4:30. Then I got to rush home. I got to sit at the dinner table, wolf down some food, head upstairs, change. That way I'm not in uniform whenever I'm on my show, and then immediately hop onto the podcast. I get no time with the family, no time with the kids. And then we're on the air usually anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes. And then I have to upload the show. By the time I'm done doing everything, my kids are already getting ready for bed. So like, it just became more and more difficult for both of us. JD was missing a lot of episodes lately because of his work schedule. And we just kind of talked about it, and we're like, let's just move to Sundays full time. Like the numbers are there. People are watching, and we actually can do the show easier. And so the first thing we did, JD, was we went and got our spouse approvals.
Of course.
And once the wives said yes, then it was official. We're moving to Sundays.
Oh, my wife was like, he's like, you guys are stupid not to do this. It's like, she's right. Yeah. Like we did Thursdays for Impact because we started out as an Impact show originally on the Fight Game Media Network. And so we always did late night Thursdays, but like you were living in California, I was in the middle of a pandemic, so I wasn't working much at all. And now that you're in Hawaii and I am a teacher, it's like, I'll be honest, I've fallen asleep on the air like 2 times.
Yes.
That's actually happened.
Legitimately, I woke up JD a couple times by asking him a question while he was passed out.
There was one time I fell asleep in the middle of a sentence where I had an idea, and then I was just rambling incoherent. And then I just looked at Mike and I'm like, I just fell asleep, like live on the air while I was speaking. So that actually happened. So this is, dude, it's 9:30 in Chicago on a Sunday night. My kid is they're away this week, but normally he's going to be in bed right now. This is like a no-brainer. And no one else does things on Sundays with Voices of Wrestling. It's our night. It's our time.
Yeah.
Our time.
Every time we would upload our show on Thursday nights, I would look into on the Slack channel for the Voices of Wrestling, and I would see that like everybody else was uploading all their stuff on Thursdays and Fridays. So it was just an overwhelming amount of content on both of those days. But Mondays are pretty much open, right? Like they get the occasional show that drops on Monday, but Sunday nights live on the Voices of Wrestling Network is going to be us. And then Mondays on all the Apple Podcasts, Spotify podcast feeds are out there that people are using on the Voices of Wrestling Network. That's going to be our day now. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that. So and hopefully the overall numbers will go up. And I think that they will.
I think they will too. I like the fact that we actually get to read the Observer now, because I always feel like we're
Yeah.
behind everything because the Observer comes out like at the same time that our show would drop. So now I feel like we at least have a weekend to digest what Dave is writing, because whether you like it or not, Dave is still the predominant force in this side of the industry. So it's nice to be able to talk about what's in the Observer, and it keeps me reading it, quite frankly, because sometimes I get buried with work. I'll be honest with you, especially this time of year. I don't know what end is up. What day is it? Sunday? Jesus. I can't see straight.
Well, and also we will actually start to review pay-per-views, which we have not been doing. I've been doing some of them just solo, and I think actually earlier in the year, Jeremy came on with me and recapped WrestleMania because I really wanted to talk because I just Jeremy came on with me. I do all the TNA pay-per-views. I do those solo, and I've done some AEW stuff, but for the most part, we don't really review any of the pay-per-views. So now being a Sunday night show, we're actually going to get to review the pay-per-views every Sunday night. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I literally just watched the show. It's completely fresh in my mind. And like, we haven't done a pay-per-view review show since early Brace for Impact days. So
yeah.
I'm kind of excited to talk about it, because usually, by the time you get to Thursday, it's all old news by then. So now everything's nice and fresh. It's a new day.
It's a new day. Yes, it is. And we got our old buddy on here from the Fight Game Media Network. He is the host of Speaking of Strong Style. He also did a AEW recap show last night with the handsome one, Silver Fox himself, Kevin Ely.
Very handsome.
Formerly of the. Is he still doing the Boom podcast? I know James is not doing it right now.
The Boom is a pay-per-view recap podcast. Correct.
Okay.
So I am temporary co-host, the guy that just shows up when Kevin says, "Hey, are we doing another one?" I'm like, "Sure." JD did one with me when Kevin couldn't go last month, and that was another moment in which JD was trying to stay awake on air during a pay-per-view recap. I have fallen victim to the JD, and his busy life has struck again. He is impressive with what he has accomplished with grad school and all these other things. So we tease him, but I implore somebody to find someone else who works as hard in all his facets of life as this guy right here.
I appreciate that. I slept till 11 o'clock today. It was wonderful.
Ooh. I too read a bunch of comic books as well.
We'll discuss that later. I'm excited to talk about that.
This is a plethora of nerd / wrestling / New Japan domestic wrestling. Buckle up, folks. This is gonna be a wild one. This show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild one. We got some folks in the chat. We got Everything Pro Wrestling. What's up, my brother? Thank you for being here. Big new distribution deal, Gerard. Man, this is like his time of the year, man. TNA just signed a Canadian deal.
His time to shine right here. Bodyslam.net.
Yeah, there's bodyslam.net. Absolutely. There's rumblings of a possible US deal. Who knows how that's going to work out? India and UK on the horizon for them. This is his World Series right now. TNA might be signing new TV deals. We'll see. Uncle Scope, hoorah, Scope. Welcome to the chat, sir. And then Burt Macklin, also of bodyslam.net. He is also a TNA podcaster. What's up, Burt? He's actually from the Central Coast. I think he's Pismo, or not Pismo. What's the other one? Avila Beach. He's from Avila there on the Central Coast. So what's up?
Central Coast. Just up the street for me. I'm over in San Jose, my friend.
Yeah, just up the road, Okay, guys, so let's get to this AEW show. I'm really excited to talk about it. I thought it was like 95% extremely really good, but then there was I think there was like two things that were pretty bad, and then there's some other stuff was just like okay, like it was just fine, which you're gonna get on pay-per-views. Like not every match has to be 5 stars, but I think the most important thing coming out of the show is that Will Ospreay very clearly had 2 5-star matches in one pay-per-view. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. And what are you guys' Jeremy, I'll start with you. What was your overall thoughts on the show for World's End?
I thought it was brisk. I was glad that it was ending a half hour earlier than most of the other shows. I'd say 5 of the 8 matches I was really happy with. And then the other 3 matches on the card didn't really do much for me, whether I liked them or not, or just put into position of death or whatever. Generally, I thought it was very good. I thought the direction of AEW seems to be stabilizing into something a bit more positive, and I felt encouraged coming out of the show.
JD, you literally just finished the show right before we went on air. What were your thoughts on it?
I did. I had a hard time starting the show because AEW makes it difficult to get their pay-per-views after the fact, and my Roku makes it difficult to freaking AirPlay. So it was hard for me to get the show. I had to bust the computer. I never watched a pay-per-view on a laptop before, but I had to. So I wound up missing, because I'm a terrible human being, and I'll live up to it. I'll own it. I did not watch the women's title match or the Mercedes Chris Statlander match. Mariah May bores me to tears, so I had zero interest in that. And I will go back. I heard really good things about Mercedes and Statlander, so I will go back and watch that. But I had to kind of focus on what I really wanted to watch before the show. And I agree. Like, I liked the vast majority of the show. I did like the vast majority of the show. Will Ospreay is the greatest wrestler in the world right now. Kyle Fletcher is going to be something very, very special in the future. He has a terrible, terrible haircut. But other than that, I really liked the show a lot. I don't like 4-way matches, but I liked the finish, and I like where it seems to be going. I think I've had hope for AEW coming out of the last 2 pay-per-views, and the TV's been since. So I'm hoping we can buck that trend as we move into the Max era. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like Tony's strong suit is very clearly booking pay-per-views and just telling the wrestlers to just like go ham, folks, just go crazy, which is what happened. And then they get back to the storytelling part of the TV show and like the connective tissue that gets you there, and it kind of just like goes to shit from there.
Well, Mike, that's what happens when you hire shitty fucking writers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. The buck stops with him though. Like he is in charge. He is the head booker. He's given himself 6 different jobs in that company, and one of them is the most important job is head booker. And he doesn't appear to be. He's not having a good time booking television shows. Thankfully, one of his shows just got canceled, so hopefully that'll help.
Rampage was a real show.
It is impossible to book something like the Continental Classic with more than one person. One person can do this tournament, because when you start getting a committee to figure out who's doing what, it gets messy. It's why Ghetto does it that way. It's why Tony Khan has to do it this way. And if he's focusing all his time and attention on that, a lot of these other angles and all of these matches clearly like fell by the wayside. And it was up to the wrestlers to be like, hey, here you go. Like 25 minutes, 20 minutes. Here's your time cue. Here are the beats of the match. You go for it. And I think some of them stepped up to the plate, and I think a couple of them swung and missed.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just 1 second. Okay, I was just pulling up the results. So I'm just gonna go through the results really quick. We'll start from the pre-show. JD, I assume you didn't watch the pre-show.
Come on, man.
No, I can't remember the last time I actually watched a pre-show. So that is not happening for me either. So
I can tell you exactly last time I watched the pre-show, when All Out was in Chicago, and I was sitting there in line getting food with my kid. So actually, no, you're right. I didn't even watch it then. Yeah,
that's funny. On the pre-show, rookie Tony Storm defeats Layla Gray. Double J Jeff Jarrett defeats QT Marshall. The Murder Machines Leo Rush and Action Andretti defeat Outrunners and Top Flight. Jeremy, did you watch the pre-show? And does anything
I had to watch all of
that?
it because of my obligations to my friends at this time. So yes,
You're
I saw all of it.
So here's my question.
Do you want the rundown in 30 seconds or less on each of these matches?
Yeah, give me the rundown, but quick, where did you watch the pay-per-view at?
Okay, so I watched most of my AEW pay-per-views with Big Dave Meltzer.
Hold on. Jeremy, stop. Can you bring over and pick up that name that you just dropped? Can you just pick that up real quick?
Big Dave Meltzer. Is that the name that you were looking for? About 9:30 yesterday morning, I wasn't sure if I was going to be watching the show at his house, because I had gotten up at 3:45 in the morning and driven from the Palm Desert, where my mother lived, to get back home. And we were pulling into the driveway of my home when I get a message from Dave. It's like, hey, are you coming to the show? Could you bring an extra laptop? Mine isn't really working, and I need a laptop for the show. So if you go online last night and wonder why Dave Meltzer did not tweet during this show. It is because he had my laptop and I turned off Wi-Fi because I didn't want the text from my wife to be popping up on the laptop while he was writing notes for the show.
Yeah.
Good decision. Jeremy, I choose to believe that when Dave texts you, he actually does write in there because that's just the Davisms. And I want to believe that that's actually how that was written.
All of this is 1000% true. And I love Dave with all my heart. So there are confidences that I have when it comes to that guy. And that's about as much as I'm going to go into on the details of that one.
That's funny. So how was the pre-show? Was anything good on the pre-show?
The reaction to Tony Storm, Jeff Jarrett, and the Outrunners are worth going and checking out. The matches itself, the Tony Storm and Layla Gray match, a little disappointed. It was an opportunity for Layla Gray to shine, and she didn't do anything more pedestrian than a match on Collision. The Jeff Jarrett match was actually really entertaining. You got that sense that he knows how to wrestle a main event in a small promotion on the 0 hour. And that's exactly what it was, getting the crowd all fired up, yelling at Shivani to, pump up the crowd, the whole deal. Total Carney, main event, small thing. And then the party tag match that you get at the end of the show to fire everybody up. Action Andretti and Leo Rush stole the pin to prime the crowd for the Private Party feud that we've all been waiting for, while Private Party's done absolutely nothing since the last pay-per-view, in which they weren't even the story of their own match.
I'm going to pretend to care for 1 second, but when did Action Andretti turn on Top Flight, and do I have any reason to give a shit?
3 weeks ago, and no.
Okay. So Action Andretti turns on Top Flight, and then him and
Action
Leo
Andretti
Rush.
and Leo Rush.
Yeah.
They decided that why should the other two get all the tag title opportunities when they suck all the time? And it was a fair question.
So now they're a tag team, and their gimmick is they wear big jackets. Do I have that correct?
They're douche shorts, yes.
Okay. So who got custody of Layla Gray in the divorce?
Top Flight.
It doesn't make sense to me. She should be with the heels, right?
Yeah.
Like a hot chick with the faces it's never worked in pro wrestling.
It will eventually happen, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes sense. But so now we're gonna get like a 3-way feud, Private Party, Top Flight, and what's Action Andretti and Leo Rush's tag team name?
Action Andretti and Leo Rush.
Okay, so
not Rush Action or Action Rush or something stupid.
Leo Andretti.
Injury waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Retirement.
Leo Rush is great.
He is
small doses.
Yeah.
Putting him front and center in the tag division when you have so many other prominent tag teams that you're not using across the board just feels like you don't care about the tag team division.
Men of the Hour says Everything Pro Wrestling. So
Men of the Hour, there you go. Appreciate you guys.
Wasn't that what Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky were called?
No, Leo's always called himself the Man of the Hour.
Oh, okay.
They were Men of the Year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were Men of the Year, but everybody knows Tony Khan freaking hates Scorpio Sky. He just keeps signing him for whatever reason, and he just hates him. He just gives him money out of spite, and then just doesn't book him. It's hilarious.
I wish I had that kind of money where I could, I wish someone hated me that much, actually.
Yeah.
Where they just paid me to not use me all the time, and I can do whatever I want. I still have like a really good base salary to do whatever.
He can't be under contract, can he?
He is, in fact, still under contract.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Don't know.
It's like Tony Khan's over there running a charity house or something. There's something going on with that guy. Everything weird. Now I'm disappointed. Everything Pro Wrestling said that's a suggested name. We believed it.
It's not bad.
We could have like you could have just left that alone.
There's 32 people in AEW that are part of creative, and they couldn't come up with that on their own.
Yeah, but look who's there. Is anyone actually creative? Like,
again, these are people just getting paid to do nothing, which is kind of about 30% of the roster.
Creative by committee.
Yeah. All right. We'll start with the opening contest, which was what I assumed was gonna be the best match of the night. It was Will Ospreay defeating Kyle Fletcher in a freaking bloodbath. I thought this match was freaking incredible.
everything I love about professional wrestling in 20 minutes. It was absolutely awesome. Ospreay just could not. Fletcher is such a douche. He's great in this role. He really is. And Ospreay's the best wrestler in the world. Don Callis, I don't think there's been a better manager on commentary getting over his guys since. That guy's a working carny bastard, but like I like what he does. That's a personal shot to Don Callis.
Yeah.
Because we got history and beef. So yeah.
Jeremy, what did you think of the match?
I feel like somebody was watching their Mid-South Ted DiBiase wrestling tapes, whether it was Tony Khan or Will Ospreay, because there was a lot of that in this tournament tonight with the babyface just trying to overcome all the odds. And it's okay that Will Ospreay won this match, and we'll talk about what happened later on. You don't want to keep losing matches. But there's a point where, like, in an insular like environment like a tournament, it's okay because it doesn't affect the greater ecosphere of things. This match was magnificent. These guys came out swinging. There is a point where I worry what's going to happen with Kyle Fletcher when he's removed from the environment of wrestling with Ospreay and Okada and all of these guys. And is he going to be able to sink or swim feuding with other people? And are the fans going to care? Are the feuds going to matter? Those are the things that I kind of look at with him. And I think the answer is yes, it's going to work with him. But when I saw this match, I saw a match that was meant to highlight Ospreay, but Fletcher also came out of it way better than he was actually positioned to be in the whole thing.
You talk about Mid-South Ted DiBiase and good TV stuff. Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah. More to come on that. More to come on that. But if Ted DiBiase had that amazing match with Flair that was just a bloodbath. It really turned him into a big star.
Mm-hmm.
Next match, Kazuchika Okada defeated Ricochet. I thought this match was good.
Fine.
Yeah, it was fine. Because Okada was clearly saving himself for the match later, which smart. Like he's already a legend. He doesn't need to have 2 5-star matches in one night. He can have a 3.5 boy with Ricochet, whom I assume he just doesn't like. So the way he treated him during that match, which I actually think AEW hates him, to be honest with you.
Now, what? Now is Ricochet? I saw something. Ricochet is trying to like be Andrew Tate. Is this like a thing?
Well, no, he is like low key MAGA, and he has been retweeting Andrew Tate tweets.
This is a gimmick, right? Like no actual.
I'm not sure it is.
I don't think it is. I think he actually genuinely likes Andrew Tate.
I think he's leaning into natural personality stuff and trying to like turn it into a heel personality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good heel personality because people freaking hate him. I find this interesting that like AEW, and I think they're doing the right thing, by the way, with Ricochet, because like they've been bringing in WWE guys for a long time, and people are getting kind of sick of them, and they just didn't even like beat around the bush. Like when Mercedes were going to pretend she's a babyface for a while, Ricochet came and everyone's like, "You suck," and they're like, "Yeah, he sucks. We'll just make Ricochet a douche." So, and not even like a fun douche like Kyle Fletcher is, just like an actual douche.
Yeah. He's a wholly like unlikable television character.
There's nothing to like.
Yeah, and I think he thought he could come over here and get over based off of the moves that he does, but it's like AEW already has like 10 guys just like you. So like now you got to try to get over your character.
Problem with him, right?
Yeah,
like it was a lot. No one wants to admit it, but essentially he laterally moved from the best promotion in the world to the second best promotion in the world, and that's all that happened. He's never going to be a world champion in AEW. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I look at him and the chart of mouths to feed before him is massive. And it's just, he's got a lot of work to do before he would ever get to that point.
But that's okay. Like he's not, I don't think he's supposed to be a world champion. Like the only time he's ever like led a promotion was in Lucha Underground, when like he got to be like this, he was basically ripping off Tiger Mask, and didn't have to say anything. Like, and who was the real star of that promotion? It was Penta.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, this is just who he is. Like everybody thinks he's something, and then you get him and you're like, yeah, he's a good high flyer, but like, I don't know. There's guys that are better in this company. Like Will Ospreay's here. Like you gotta bring
not-
something else to the table.
Yeah, we have
Not
Kyle
other
Fletcher.
people. It's him that thinks he's better,
Oh, I
but
know.
he hasn't been able to prove it, and his work in the ring hasn't cemented that either. Like
No.
everything about it is show us, don't tell us, and his heel personality is now telling us instead of showing us.
Yeah, and then after the match, Swerve comes out and they do the whole toilet paper gimmick, where he brought toilet paper down to the ring. Prince Nana did, and then all the fans threw toilet paper in the ring. And I'm like, they could not have emasculated this guy more. He is done. He's buried. He is never going to be over as like a star that people want to see. He is a geek.
Can you imagine that the idea for this was that it was supposed to rehabilitate him in some way and set him up for his next angle? People forget about him just losing to Okada. And instead, it just further geekified him. To the point that I'm done.
Yeah. Guys, what? Okay, so Swerve's the babyface in the feud. What's he supposed to overcome? Like, why would he even wrestle this guy? He already humiliated him. There is no point to the match now. There's no reason to watch the match.
Unless Ricochet gets back at him somehow. That's the only way this thing could possibly be rehabilitated, is that Ricochet is so incensed by what Swerve did that he has to violently react. I mean, what's he gonna do? He can't burn his house down. We already saw that. So I mean, he has to do something to like really hurt Swerve. And Swerve seems to like a challenge. So I think Swerve is probably thinking, I can rehabilitate this guy. I can make this work because I'm over enough. I don't know what they're gonna do because I don't know how you get over a guy who just got pelted with multiple rolls of toilet paper.
Ooh, let's get there.
Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and take this one? Transferring Heat says, doesn't Ricochet have a New Japan Championship match next week? He sure as hell does.
Not only that, if anyone really has an idea that Ricochet is going to do anything at all on the mother of all simulcasts of Swerve Strickland that streamcasts on both Max and whatever TBS, TNT, whatever show it is, he ain't going to because he's going to be on a plane flight for a press conference before the Tokyo Dome. So he's not going to be back for another 10 days. He got emasculated. He got geeked out. And at best, you're going to get a video package of some way showing anything that he does. It's not going to be a live retribution aspect.
Tony completely fucking buried a Tokyo Dome main event with what he did to Ricochet here. Like, they could have kept him strong until the Tokyo Dome main event.
He did that 3 weeks ago.
He did
that when he got pie-faced by and escorted out of the ring by the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
I'm still angry about that. It doesn't matter though. It really doesn't. I don't think anyone really took seriously Ricochet as a Tokyo Dome IWGP championship contender.
Then why the fuck do they make the match, Jeremy? Why book the match if they know for a fact that no one cares about it? Don't book
at the time
they
thought they were getting another Will
Tokyo
Ospreay.
Dome that you know good and well that nobody's going to care about.
At the time, I think that they were sold into the idea that they were getting another Will Ospreay and Ricochet, and it turns out that that's not what they were getting.
Yeah.
Why would they think that?
Because I think Ricochet sold them on that. I think Tony Khan sold them on that. And by the time that the decision was made, probably in September for that October reveal, plans were in motion, man. Like, there was no turning back on what those Tokyo Dome plans were. And Tony Khan had the pick of the litter of what people he was going to hand over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that's why we have a haphazard, interesting motley crew of wrestlers heading over the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Dynasty.
Stay tuned for our full preview of a Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty coming up here pretty soon. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? What was next? It was Mariah May.
It was the
Thunder
Tijuana
Rosa
death
in a
match.
street fight. I'm sorry, Jeremy, what'd you say?
It was the Tijuana death match.
Yes. I didn't think this was all that good. They ended up breaking a table, so there you go. Thunder Rosa's dad got involved. They threw some dirt in they threw some graveyard dirt from Tijuana in Thunder Rosa's eyes. So she's dead, I think. Like, I don't know what the hell that was all about. they had a Tijuana street fight in Orlando, so I guess that's cool. I don't know how they logistically made that happen, but I didn't really care for the match. Jeremy, what'd you think?
This match, God bless them, they were doomed after being behind 2 C2 matches, but
Good
I
point.
don't think that that very much helped their match anyways. I think Thunder Rosa has a confidence issue in doing any kind of match that doesn't include like a street fight, weapons, any type of that thing, because she can't connect with the audience, and the audience doesn't care unless that. And she had that match with Britt Baker years ago, and she's gone back to the well repeatedly with diminishing results on these times. And I think what we're seeing this time was the most diminished result of trying to do that kind of match, hoping that it was going to get people interested. And unfortunately, this feud went right out the window the minute Toni Storm walked out, and Thunder Rosa was sitting as a spectator to the match with Mina Shirakawa with her signs, doing the what the fuck, and she didn't realize how badly she was owning herself at the time, and no one took this seriously. It's unfortunate. Better days ahead for Mariah May. I don't know if better things are ahead for Thunder Rosa, but we'll see.
I mean, she's got her Busted Open gig. And maybe that's why she does hardcore matches, because she's co-hosted with Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. That's all they ever did too. So
the most success she's ever had, man, is doing those hardcore matches. I get why she goes back to it when she her confidence is shaken.
Because she's not that good.
Yeah. Next match was next match was Adam Cole and MJF.
Yes.
And this sucked.
Sucks
like,
so bad.
They're good at doing the moves, right? And they're good at the near falls, which everybody in AEW already is. They tried to bring this into some melodrama from 2023, trying to recapture their feud, which we all hated. And they're doing it seemed like Shawn Michaels booked this for NXT, like with all the mid-match melodrama and saying, I never loved you and this and that. The whole thing sucked. MJF ends up winning. The Undisputed Kingdom gets back together, but it looks like Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are going to join with MJF eventually. And this feud will never freaking end. It's just going to continue forever.
I feel like I've been bitching about this forever because I have. Dude, it dawned on me, we've been dealing with this for 18 months. It's like a case of herpes. Like every time you think it goes away and you get the topical cream on it, it just pops up again and ruins your weekend. The only benefit I saw of this was Adam Cole did not look like he had jaundice. Instead, he was remarkably pale.
Yeah. He instead of just getting a new tanning cream or just getting like a regular tan, he just said, "Fuck it, I'm not tanning."
Well, it's like he's like, I'm tired of everybody giving me shit about being yellow. I'm just gonna fucking go out there and be all pale, and then you guys see. Then you'll see what I think about that. No, this was just like everything about WWE NXT that I fucking hate was on display in this match. And I'm sure Brian Alvarez is gonna absolutely love it because he eats that shit up like a freaking chocolate ice cream. But
he did not.
Oh no, if it was in WWE, Matt Ring, he'd have loved it and reviewed it 9 times on his show.
JD and Jeremy, if you guys actually go back and rewatch this match, and I challenge you to do so, if you slow it down about mid-match, you'll actually witness MJF get on some water skis and then jump over a shark in the ocean. that actually happened in the middle of it.
To be fair, MJF has never been as cool as the Fonz.
No, that's true. Yeah. For those of you listening at home that don't understand the reference, that's where the term "jump the shark" comes from. Like whenever a character or a television show or a band or whatever has reached their peak and they're completely done, that the term is "jump the shark." That's what happened in Happy Days. Like that was the moment that Happy Days was basically over. It was they were never able to regain their popularity.
Ironically enough, it also it also works as like another metaphor too, because like it's a shark, because like a shark fin where it goes up and then it goes down. So the analogy works on multiple levels. It's quite brilliant when you really break it down.
Do you two ever think about the fact that this feud started with the plea from Adam Cole from their match that he just wanted 5 more minutes with MJF? And my God, did we get more than 5 minutes?
That was in Chicago. In July of 2023.
5 more minutes, guys. Can we just get 5 more minutes?
June, excuse me. I was there and I watched it, and it's been a never-ending nightmare since then. It is single-handedly derailed my love for this company. I really wish MJF had gone to WWE.
I will tell you this. Last night was when it became clear that MJF was exposed to me, and I'll tell you why.
Did you say MJF exposed himself to you?
He is exposed as a wrestler. Exposed as a wrestler.
I thought you saw his dick.
I'm sure MJF has done that to a number of people in his flair-like gold flair for the gold, but I have no confirmation of this. Just he has a persona. It's possible. MJF is exactly the same wrestler that he was when he started with the company 2020, 2019.
I don't know if I agree with that.
There's been no growth. No, hear me out here. There's been no growth that he's been confident to sustain. The things that he is successful on were the things that his original persona, his status quo, was built upon. Everything that he's tried to do to experiment, to grow, to be a babyface, or to be a different kind of heel, or anything like that, he hasn't had the confidence, and he goes back to the diamond ring kind of trope. He's done the same diamond ring match for 5 years. You're going to see the same MJF until he gets brave enough to do something different, but he's not going to, because this is what he does.
Character-wise, I don't disagree. I think in the ring, his in-ring work is significantly better than it was when he started in this company. So, but from a character standpoint, yes. But when he did try to grow outside of that, it made me want to murder people. So I don't know what I want from him. I don't think I like watching MJF in the ring.
I don't either. I'm done.
Yeah,
I've been done for a while. I've been done since the bullshit in Vegas.
Yeah. I've been out on him for a while. Every once in a while, he'll bring me back in. Like his return earlier this year, I thought was really well done. And of course, his matches with Ospreay this year were really good. But he's in there with probably one of the greatest ever in Will Ospreay. So, but
the resources dedicated to him, to me, far outweigh the advantages of what he offers.
I really like the turn on Garcia. Like he really did. The crowd was really feeling MJF, and you just get glimpses of how great he can be, and he really got that crowd to turn on him, which was fun to see. But it's so hard to sustain him. I almost wonder if the MJF character works better in small doses, right?
Yeah,
where he can kind of come and go. Like he'd have been perfect for a territory era heel, right? Where he could do his shtick, leave, and then go to Portland. But now everywhere is seeing everything. So it's hard not to be overexposed because he's kind of limited personality wise.
Which is funny that you bring that up because he's been gone most of the year, either through injury or because he's filming Happy Gilmore too. But when he comes back, he overstays his welcome pretty quick. And honestly, I'm not that happy with Adam Cole. Now I was never like the biggest Adam Cole guy, but I always thought he was pretty good and like a talented guy. But he has not been good in this feud at all.
So controversial statement from JD here. I don't like Shawn Michaels. I've never liked Shawn Michaels. I stopped watching WWE wrestling as a teenager when Shawn Michaels beat Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12. I was like, oh, okay, I'm out. And I literally stopped watching WWE because there's just something to me about Shawn Michaels that's so off-putting, right? I knew this before I was a smart, before I knew what kind of guy he was backstage. I just don't get into him. It's always been very melodramatic. And Adam Cole is like Shawn Michaels, but not as good, right?
He doesn't have the aura, presence, or charisma.
No.
He's got the good theme song and he's got the good catchphrase. But he is not the same level of star that Shawn Michaels ever was. He looks like he's a guy cosplaying as a Shawn Michaels fan. He's like a 12-year-old Shawn Michaels fan in the ring.
Who can do less of who does less of the work that Shawn Michaels could do. Like I said, so I don't like the original. It's I don't really like Pepsi. I'm not going to go out of my way to drink RC Cola, which is a total lie. I love Pepsi. That's why I don't drink it. I have a problem with it. But there's my analogy.
See, I really like Shawn Michaels. He was one of my favorites. But I just don't, and I don't not like Adam Cole, but I just don't see him as being like this big, must-have star on your roster that you have to he's never going to be a guy to me that should be pushed above 90% of the roster. I just think he's like a mid-level guy.
I used to cheer for the Brainbusters to beat up the Rockers. I just can't stand Shawn Michaels. I never could.
Yeah.
The thing I think for Adam Cole that he suffers from is that he's almost like the King Cobra character, a snake in which he's like the leader, but a snake kind of person, in which he sets up his plans. He puts himself in a position to take advantage of an entire environment and strike when the time is right. But his entire AEW run has been set by injuries or feuds that have superseded any ability for that character to kind of thrive, or he's setting up his chess pieces in order to strike and potentially like get a world title or get a title that he wouldn't have normally gotten. And then he's kind of gatekeeping it from all the other people. And that's how those feuds and how those matches go. He's never had that. He's never been put in that kind of position. He's always been like fan favorited or put with all these other groups. And then something will happen. He'll get the concussion, or he'll have the foot injury, or he's got to settle this MJF thing. We haven't had an opportunity for Adam Cole to do Adam Cole stuff at a top level in a long time.
You essentially told me that he was basically Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe.
He kind of is.
The snake analogy. He just always kind of falters. Always the plans always kind of fail. He's really not much of a threat.
Yeah.
A Cobra Commander reference here on
let's get again worse, guys.
The nerdiest podcast in the game.
Yeah, we go deep with nerd culture on
Mike, I apologize in advance if your subscriber count goes below 2,000 and then I have to go back up again.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Thank you guys to all the YouTube subscribers. What I wanted for Christmas was to reach 2,000, and we were able to do that. So we've actually last month has been one of the best we've had since we first started. So I do appreciate everybody for joining the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. 2,000 in the short amount of time that we were able to do. We're a small channel, and for the growth that we've had lately has been pretty incredible. So I do appreciate everybody for subscribing.
You know, it's kind of cool that Jeremy's here for us to celebrate that, because Jeremy put this band together.
Yeah. So thank you, Jeremy, for reminding me.
Another era of the Mike and JD Show. I feel honored.
Yeah.
I feel honored. I love you guys. I am so happy for all the success that you guys have had.
Thanks.
And I am not a person that gets jealous or anything else when I see my friends succeed. And I'm just really happy for you guys that you have put in the work and you have gotten this out of it.
Well, thank you, sir. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, back to the show. I believe next was Takeshita and Hobbs. I honestly did not know that this match was happening. I've been watching Dynamite every week, but I'm just not following it that closely. So I didn't know that this match was happening. I'm glad it did, though. It was really good. I thought this match was good. I don't know that it needed to be on the show, but it was really good.
No, I loved it, man. I really think that they got me. I thought Hobbs was going to get over Takeshita, because I really like Will Hobbs. I have since he first showed up during the pandemic era. And I'm happy he was on the pay-per-view, because he doesn't have nearly enough pay-per-view appearances. I hope they keep doing something with him. They really sent him some good sympathetic babyface stuff, especially with the knee. It was fun. I really liked the match a lot. It was on this kind of a card where you had Will Ospreay and Okada just doing their thing the whole time. Hobbs and Takeshita really, I think, showed out and showed what these guys are capable of. I really want to see more from Hobbs. I want this feud to continue a little bit. And I'd love to see Hobbs get that international title from him.
Yeah,
Hobbs rules. Takeshita rules. Mm-hmm. I hope Takeshita is the IWGP champion at some point and works in New Japan full time and leaves AEW. I deeply hope this, because everyone would benefit from that. Personally, I think Hobbs was doomed from the start, and this was a bad match to book, given that Takeshita had a number of New Japan matches coming up that were a lot more consequential to this. But I don't know if doing this match after he wins 2 times at the Tokyo Dome, where you think that the never open weight title could potentially be something that Powerhouse Hobbs gets after, if they were to do a match, if people were going to believe that more or less than if they do it now. I've thought about it both ways. Maybe it doesn't matter. Tony Khan is going to do whatever the hell Tony Khan wants to do when it comes to booking his guys. It's infuriating, even if it comes to New Japan saying, oh, this is free and clear, this is already going to be a title, and then Tony Khan books this match without telling his business partners. Don't love that. But if we're looking at it on its face, this match was awesome. Hobbs is great. Takeshita is a phenom. And if I'm being honest, even though it was great, I still think it might have been Takeshita's worst pay-per-view match in AEW.
Takeshita is that good. Like,
Yeah.
and he's so it's funny because guys like us, but I do feel like he's very unheralded, right? And just there's just so much talent in this company right now. And I like very clearly Don Callis's fingerprints were all over this thing. This had very the fingerprint, like I said, it had very much the Bobby Heenan touches. Like it reminded me a lot of the storyline with like Ken Patera or like Paul Orndorff when guys would leave the Heenan family. So like I really like, because Don Callis just loves Bobby Heenan and wants to be Bobby Heenan. I get it. Who wouldn't want to be Bobby Heenan? But I mean, like I really had some of that elements in there, and I thought it worked pretty well. Like on a match that's going to be forgotten probably in about 6 months. Like it was still pretty good, and I'm really glad it was on this show.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a pleasant surprise. It was like, it reminded me of like watching an old WCW pay-per-view, and then all of a sudden you get Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio for no reason. Like that's kind of what I thought. And these guys are actually like in a feud, but still, I just didn't know that it was happening, so I was really happy about it. Next up was Mercedes Moné defeating Chris Statlander. I have no idea why they had a rematch, other than the first match was good. I think that everybody really liked the first match, so they're like, okay.
Statlander went on there and demanded that they run it back.
What's that?
Statlander went on TV and demanded that they run it back in Mercedes.
What fucking authority does Statlander have to do that? She lost clean in the middle.
Who else was there?
Yeah, she came on Collision and said, we need to run it back. You got no authority, lady, but they gave her the match anyway. Hey, look, she got the match, but she didn't have any authority to get that.
When you think about how much energy Tony was booking on the C2 and how much energy he was booking on all the other matches.
Yeah, but since they did the match, it took a while to get going. It ended up being the longest women's match in AEW history, and I think that was the goal. So they were able to break that record. So I guess congratulations.
Was it good?
It ended up being pretty good. Yeah, it ended up being pretty good. I think Dave will probably rate it pretty highly. Mercedes Moné is very sloppy in the ring at times, and I thought that she botched the finish of it. And then she's also a bit of a cornball. At one point, so she's a heel, right? But she still did the Eddie Guerrero Three Amigos to get everybody to cheer for her and chant Eddie Guerrero. And then she comes off the top rope with the goddamnedest worst
tadpole
frog splash you've ever seen in your life. It was just a skinny girl falling off the top rope onto an actual athlete. And she kind of bounced off Statlander and then got 1, 2. Nobody in the building thought that was going to be a 3 count except for Mercedes Moné, who did the NXT O face for a good 30 seconds. Yeah, it was dumb. After that moment, the match started to get pretty good, and then by the end of it, they had the crowd, and it turned out to be a really good match.
To be fair, Eddie Guerrero spent most of his career as a heel that people kind of cheered at times. So
yeah, he was just really good at it.
He actually was really good at it.
Yeah, and Mercedes Moné, her run has ultimately been a failure. However, she's been having some pretty good matches lately if you put it in there with the right opponent. Don't put her in there with Britt Baker, it ain't going to work. You got to put her in there with which is why they did the Statlander match again, because she wants to have more good matches on pay-per-view, and she wants to continue to beat people, and so she got her way. But I thought the match was pretty good. It was good. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So my takeaway after watching this match was, I think Chris Statlander is the woman that beats Mercedes Moné for the world title in like a year, 18 months. Because there were a couple of cues in this match that made me think that, Mercedes was really trying to set up footage or get some type of clip of smacking her in the face, telling her you're never going to be champion, you're never going to win this title, all of these universal things that you can say that like you can set up some video package later on down the line. You did 2 matches back to back where Statlander lost to Mercedes Moné, but she got closer each time. And when you look at that landscape of AEW wrestlers and you think of those from the day 1, day 50 kind of people that were there near the beginning, Chris Statlander kind of runs to that top of the list. She's had that TBS title a couple of times. Like the world title is the next step. And I was just kind of looking at this. I'm like, you're setting up a world title match down the line, and you're not being very coy about it.
So,
but
I'm okay with that.
Moné's a TBS champion. So do you
So
think
she's going to lose
beat,
it eventually, and she's going to get that world title.
So she's not going to lose it to Stat. You think they're going to hold off on Stat Moné 3 for the world title later?
I think so. I think there's no benefit to Statlander winning a title she's already won against Mercedes Moné. When that happens, it's going to be for a different title.
That belt means absolute dog shit, but beating Moné is a big deal. So I think that would be the moment, right?
So there would be probably somebody else like Athena or somebody that calls it a shot.
So I think, no, I got my John Muse cap on right now. I think what you do is like, you got a lot going with Tony Storm right now. Tony Storm's got a little character refresh. I don't get it at the moment. It's like, we're pretending that she's a rookie now. Okay. But I mean, like and eventually she's going to get that belt back from Mariah. And that's probably your biggest money women's match in the company right now that you're hanging out to is Mercedes versus Tony Storm. Right. So you have Mercedes go over Tony Storm, then you go run back Statlander. Like realistically, you have 8 months to a year of booking laid out there. What Jeremy said makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. I think it's finally happened. I think Statlander has finally shed her alien girl persona, and she kind of resembles like a real wrestler now. She's like
a powerhouse. You don't need someone like Camille's a brick house. You got Statlander right there.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be seeing Camille anymore. So,
no, probably not. The 7 German suplexes was the spot, like you said, that got the crowd awake in this match. And it was just an electrifying moment, even though it was pretty weird to have, the heel doing the babyface electricity spot. But the other moment that I think was burned in my brain, and JD, you're going to love the camera work when you end up seeing this, is the count out attempt near the end of the match in which Mercedes is laying against the ring. She has beaten Statlander pillar to post multiple times to ensure that she won't make this 10 count. And Statlander is on the ground. You see the angle of Mercedes against the ring. And at the 9.5, right before 10, you see Statlander jump into the ring as if like Randy Orton was leaping from the depths of hell. It was a perfect angle, a perfect shot. It is burned into my brain.
Yeah.
So low key, I haven't been watching near as much AEW lately just because of life stuff, and I've been cold on the company. I did think the camera work was pretty damn good on this show, to be quite honest with you. Like, I do think it's taken Mansory a little while to find himself here, but I have noticed that a lot of the production stuff has actually improved here. Like, I've always held New Japan as like kind of the preeminent. Like, I love the camera work in New Japan. Always have. Like, they train their guys to find the action, unlike WWE, who makes the wrestlers find the cameras. Mm-hmm. So I think that AEW is kind of finding like a midway point between the two, and like where things don't feel quite as staged camera wise with AEW. Like, they let things play out a little bit more. I have noticed that, so I will go back and watch that with my cinematographer brain on, and you've got me intrigued just by that alone. But I have noticed that. I thought the camera work, particularly in Ospreay and Fletcher, I thought was really good tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. All right, next up, the match that I thought should have actually closed the show.
Yes.
I thought they should have closed the show with this match. It was Kenny comes out later, but it was Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. These guys have never had a bad match together. They've wrestled each other a dozen times, and they put on. Honestly, I liked this match more than the Fletcher match, even though I really loved the Ospreay Fletcher match. So, but if you were to tell me that you liked one versus the other, I don't have an argument against either. All I know is both these matches were freaking amazing. I loved them both. Will Ospreay is one of the greatest to ever do it. And we got vintage Okada. Okada has, we've been calling him, what did I call him the other day, Jeremy, in the DMs? Shinsuke Okada. He's just kind of like, just phoning it in for the most part and doing his shtick, saying the B word, flipping people off. But he went in the Wayback Machine here, and he turned out another classic, man.
To be fair, that's been Okada for a while now. Like, he phoned in from about 2020 on. Big, Joe always calls him Big Match Kazu because, a lot of times, especially during the long pants era of Okada,
he's punching out.
He could be very workmanlike in his performances sometimes, but that's what makes him a smart worker, is when it's time to put on a show, the dude knows how to put on a show, and there's nobody better in the big match than Kazuchika Okada. But when you put him in there with Ospreay, who is all balls all the time, never knows to slow down, he'll probably die young because he goes so hard. Like it just, these two have, it's been like this for damn near a decade. These two have just unbelievable chemistry together in the ring. I could watch them wrestle forever.
Okay, question for both of you. Okay, remove Kenny Omega from the situation. Remove him from coming out afterwards. Should they have put Ospreay over here?
No.
I agree.
I would have put Ospreay over,
No,
but I just think that he's the
not.
guy, that he needs to be the guy going forward. And I think they could get to the Kenny Omega Okada match without the Continental title on the line.
Here's where I disagree with you on this, because I think that Continental title is an albatross to him. I think that you want to keep, I think that it works for Okada right now, because you're still rebuilding Okada, who spent the better part of his first year at the AEW wasting his time and presence with this jagbag Young Bucks storyline that was a complete and total failure. So I think this C2 really was about rehabbing Okada, and Ospreay is a little too giving. However, I don't want Ospreay to touch a belt in this company anymore until he's the world champion.
Okay, I think that's fair.
I'm on that train of thinking. I think the idea is to have Okada as the best tournament wrestler ever, and having him win the C2 when he just came into the company. I don't ever think that there was any other option than having Okada come in, win this tournament, and redefine himself as that kind of best goddamn wrestler. Because otherwise, what were you going to do with this guy if you weren't going to do a tournament when the tournament came? And you're going to try and tell us all he's this great wrestler? It was shit or get off the pot time tonight with Okada.
Yeah.
In my mind, there were people that wanted Fletcher to win this, to have Ospreay win this.
Good.
It was always Okada to me.
That's what makes a tournament successful. Is like too often, I think WWE has super been guilty of this for decades, is they would run a tournament and there was a very clear guy who was going to win it. What's been fun about the C2 both years in a row is there's a lot of different ways things could go. I think Jeremy's right. Ultimately, it had to be Okada. But you could really sell yourself that it could have been Kyle Fletcher, could have been Ospreay, could have been Darby Allin. Like there's a lot of things they could have done with this tournament, which made it well booked. It's made it.
Yeah.
The C2 has been some of the funnest stuff AEW is doing. I almost think they should do seasonal tournaments in this company because it does set them apart from WWE. It does steer into the more sports centric aspects of it.
So just shifting gears really quick. I just thought of something. So back to the C2. I think we all agree it was really well booked this year. I don't think that it had the same. It wasn't as over this year as it was last year, but I think the pay-per-view part of it with the semifinals and the finals, I thought worked tremendously. But the fact that Juice Robinson got hurt and they put Commander in there and then kept the same exact booking down to Commander using brass knucks to beat Claudio, I think just screams that Tony cannot pivot to save his life.
Well, it was supposed to be Juice because Juice was always going to set up that world title by having supporting Jay White against Moxley. It actually was beautiful booking to me that ended up being that way. And now Commander just kind of gets the benefit of it. That's fine to me. But if you thought about it, like Juice Robinson fucking over Claudio and that also building the world title match on the same pay-per-view was like, okay, that is a little flair to your booking that I have to applaud you for. Those are the little touches in like tournament round robin booking that you kind of get extra credit for.
Yeah. I just remembered hearing that story earlier in the week. I think it was Dave that told that story that it was actually they kept the same exact booking for Juice all the way down to the brass knucks with Claudio. And because I remember watching Claudio versus Commander. I'm like, did Commander really need to use brass knucks to beat Claudio? Like he's the Ring of Honor TV title. Now I know that championship is stupid and Ring of Honor is dead, but come on, he's at least a title holder. He doesn't need to use a brass knucks to beat a mid-card guy in Claudio. And he's a babyface. So I remember saying it was so stupid. And then when I heard that it was actually, no, they just kept the same story for Juice. They just gave it to Commander. It's like, oh my God, that's even funnier.
The last thing I will add to this whole thing is that I started out the year and I talk about how lucky I am as a wrestling fan and the way I get to watch wrestling. Guys, I started the year going to a San Jose show where the main event was Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada. And I ended the year watching a pay-per-view where the main event should have been Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah. What? Go ahead, JD. You had something.
I'll just read in the chat. This is a smart show. If you don't like smart stuff, get the fuck out.
No, we got trolls in the chat. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't worry about that stuff.
I've never I've never stepped away from a fight I could have avoided.
Yeah. So what do we think about Kenny Omega coming back? I really like the Omega return. I thought it was really well done. I like that they're teasing All In. I don't like they're doing the WrestleMania sign pointing, even though they didn't point. They basically did the point thing. I was just like, okay, but it does signal that we're going there, and hopefully it'll boost up ticket sales in for All In.
What I liked about it was nobody said a fucking word.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that. I think it would have been. I'm glad someone stopped like Peppermint because I'm sure she wanted to write like a big old script, and I'm sure who's the dork that booked it? They used to book Impact that writes through his name. I can't remember RDL or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
like
RD.
I think sure they wanted to write big ass speeches for Kenny, but the fact those two of them just there's so much history between Okada and Omega just stared at each other. I thought it was great. I think it was perfect for the moment. Excited to have Kenny back.
Yeah.
There's 4 big shows that you can plan out for right now, and that is the Australia show. You have Revolution, you have Double or Nothing, and you have All In. I find it really interesting that they're booking out Kenny Omega and Okada for All In because it says to me that they're going to take their time making sure Kenny is fully okay and back to being the best Kenny that they can have before they run this match.
Yeah. If you want to keep Kenny healthy, is it smart to put him in there with that fucking crazy guy in Japan? What's his name?
Kid.
Kid.
That's gonna be freaking Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's just gonna be a brawl.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a good test though for Kenny because he doesn't, because Gabe Kidd's style, like Kenny's not gonna do anything like super crazy with Gabe Kidd. I think it's really safe, really smart booking. It's going to be a lot of storytelling stuff. It'll be a good way for Kenny to kind of get his feet wet again. And doing it, I think it's smart. People are like, oh, they should have his first match in AEW. No, I think having his first match back in New Japan, 1, it helps New Japan. Kenny Omega's name means something there. 2, you can kind of see what you got with Kenny right now. How healthy is Kenny? And then if there is something wrong, you can pivot back. Like Jeremy said, they booked this out way in advance. So if he's not 100% healthy yet, I know he thinks he is because Kenny's a goddamn madman. But you can kind of see, okay, where's Kenny at? What can he do? What can he do? And it's a good test, that you don't have to do it in front of your paying audience. Because Kenny in Japan is a big thing, just being Kenny in Japan. And it's really a low stakes match in the grand scheme of things. I think it's really smart booking personally.
Yeah. Let's get to the main event. We had a fatal 4-way between John Moxley.
Barf.
Yeah, John Moxley, Jay White, Hangman Adam Page, and who's the other guy? Who's the other guy? I'm sorry, I already forgot. Oh, Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy, whom Dave said is a way better wrestler version of Jimmy Valiant, and I fucking almost drove my car off a cliff laughing so hard because I think that's true.
I never would have thought of that.
He's just like an undercard gimmick guy, and they thought they could put him in the main event, and boy, were they wrong. He's still a really good wrestler though, but he's a gimmick. So he was the one battling for the soul of AEW, and this guy's got his hands in his pockets. But okay, guys, all right. What did you guys think of the match, and what do we think about the closing angle?
I hate 4-way matches. I think they're all stupid. There's low stakes. No one ever takes when the champion isn't in the ring. There's no juice, right? Pardon the pun with Orange Cassidy in there. But you could listen to the crowd. The crowd was not into it when Moxley wasn't there, right? Hangman Page still pretty over. Jay White's better than I thought. I think Jay White had a pretty good night. Orange Cassidy, 2 pay-per-views in a row, they've gone with him on top, and I think it's a mistake both times. I think Dave's assertion of him being Jimmy Valiant, specifically, I think Dave's talking like 1984 Jimmy Valiant, 1985 Jimmy Valiant. I don't think he's off on that at all. I'm just very glad this storyline is over, right? Based on the closing. Now, that being said, I thought it was great. The closing finale. I think FTR and are going to get good promos working with Death Riders. I think having Copeland. I think this promotion is more fun with Copeland in it, right? Because he's just going to bring energy and excitement. And I think that, and I know Copeland's not a great draw, but where we are right now, I think that Copeland Moxley is probably the biggest money match you can offer, and it's something we've never seen before.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Mike, would you say that this was a TNA level main event?
I think this could have been on TNA Turning Point in 2008. Yeah.
There was a lot of messy stuff near the end of it, including run-ins from people and non-run-ins from other people who promised that they were going to run in and never did on a number of the babyface side. So I was really confused by the way the motivations worked about, you've got all these people that are there to save like the heart of AEW. But
from what? What are we? Okay, explain this to me because I'm not watching the TV show. What are we saving them from? What is Jon Moxley doing that's so bad to AEW? Granted, he tried to murder Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. But what
and
is
he took a program off the air?
Yeah. Yeah, he did cancel Rampage. He canceled Rampage. He closed Rampage and said, "I'm shutting the doors forever." So he's really
hold on. Did they actually make that an angle that Jon Moxley?
They Pillmanized Darby's neck and destroyed the Rampage. Show.
Okay, I don't hate that. To be quite honest, I actually think that's kind of a great idea.
It is a great idea. It's a babyface move, but it's a great idea. Yeah.
Babyface move. Okay.
This whole thing was messy, and it didn't have to be. Like it never had to be this mess. But for whatever reason, Tony Khan made up his mind that these 4 guys had to be in a 4-way tonight, and it didn't have to be. It could have been a singles match. The one that seemed most viable for a singles match was Jay White, and you pinned him. Of all the guys that you could do it going into the Australia show, in my mind, it would have been Jay White and Jon Moxley at that show.
Yeah,
and
makes
then
sense.
Copeland and Christian versus each other at that show. And the winner of those 2 would face each other at Revolution. And I'm like, this would have written itself. But everything that he did laying out the show at the end of the night was a complete mess. Christian should have cashed in tonight. We need to get rid of Christian and his contract.
I'm done with the Money in the Bank gimmick, and I'm done with Christian holding the briefcase.
He should have cashed in tonight. Copeland should have fucked him over. It should have set up that. It should have set up Moxley. It should have set up all these things. But now we have Christian in the wind still with this contract, and it's just it's an albatross.
And we got Hook staying there silently, not doing a goddamn thing. Go ahead.
His dad's already back. What does it matter?
To be fair, that's when Hook's at his best, is when he's not doing anything and being quiet. That's when he was at his most over. I can't disagree with anything you guys are saying. Now here's a legit question. Does a guy from New Zealand get cheered in Australia? Is there like some beef between Australians and New Zealanders that I don't know?
Not at all.
In sports there are, but like they will still cheer them over Americans for sure.
Okay.
I know a number of New Zealanders that have moved to Australia for work, and it's fine. They just they all coexist.
There was a legit question that I had. Like I didn't know it was going to be a thing. Like if you put an Irish guy in a main event in England, they're going to be like, "Oh fuck this guy," or an English guy in the main event in an Ireland show. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was a legit question I had. I wasn't sure, but I agree. This Christian thing, like, I understand that it's tied in with Copeland, and I get that. I would like it to be over with right now.
Yeah. Here's a question for you guys. JD, you've been a very big fan of Adam Copeland in AEW. Because you were very critical of him when he was in WWE. I am of the opinion that he was always really good in WWE, and he's still good in AEW. He's just a really good wrestler.
I'm colored by my hatred of WWE.
Yes. Yeah, you very clearly biased against WWE. I've always been a big fan of Edge, Adam Copeland, whatever you want to call him. But this whole storyline with Jon Moxley is about the soul of AEW, and which I want to give the big jerk off motion right to it. But is Edge really the guy, the WWE lifer, to fight for the soul of AEW, or should it have been Kenny Omega fighting for the soul of AEW? Now I know where we're going, Kenny Omega and Okada at All In, but wouldn't it make more sense the guy who started the fucking company coming back to fight for the soul of AEW? Instead, it's a WWE lifer that's barely been here for a minute.
Kenny Omega, the guy who has had a feud with Moxley that has existed for the duration of a story feud that's gone on for years. Yes.
Thank you.
Can be. Well, I think it still can, because I don't see Copeland winning this title from Moxley.
No, but why isn't he mad right now?
Well, he just got back in the door. Like, cut him some slack. He's not even back yet.
Pound of flesh from Omega and from Okada and the Bucks and Perry for taking him out.
Like, Kenny's got shit to do right now. I don't think it's fair to put this on Kenny. Like, he's got John Wick style shit to take care of before he goes to Jon Moxley. Like, that's a feud that's very easy to heat up again, because there's so much baggage, and that could be something they're putting off for All In too, right? Like, there's a lot. Like Jeremy said, there's so many things you can book down the line, and they're for a change. It sounds like they're booking long term instead of like, well, what can we do tomorrow?
Yeah. It's just in my head, I was thinking about it, and I was like, the biggest money drawing champion this company ever had was Kenny Omega, and he defeated Moxley to get there. And we're bringing Kenny Omega back, and we're trying to get the old Kenny back. it would make more sense based on the storylines that they're going with. It would make more sense for him to come back to challenge Moxley versus he's going to challenge Okada just because they could have a really good match.
No, I disagree with you, Mike, because the Bucks and Okada took him out. Like Kenny's
That's
put on the
true.
shelf in
Okay.
storyline. Be like,
Sorry,
Okada
my
beat him
bad.
so
I tried to
badly,
put
he
the
had
whole.
diverticulitis.
Everyone.
Sorry, I've tried to put that. I've tried to put the whole storyline behind me. I
don't blame
forgot
you.
that actually happened. I'm sorry.
We have
Yeah, no,
trauma.
you're correct.
We have trauma from that entire storyline.
I have a counterpoint as to why I'm okay with Copeland. And that is, I believe, and this is a weird theory, try not to crucify me for this,
I make
is
no
that
promise.
the heavyweight champion of any promotion should be facing the top guys and beating them to legitimize their title reign.
Agreed.
So Copeland is a top guy. At some point, Moxley should be running through him and Omega, potentially Okada, all of these guys until Ospreay comes along and takes that title from him.
Counterpoint, Adam Copeland's a 51-year-old man with a broke
But
leg.
he's still a top guy.
He
And
is.
at some point, he's got to be in a world title match
He's
to
still
legitimize everything else.
I think
Adam Copeland is an outlier to everybody else in this promotion.
Yeah.
I think the big problem with this run of Moxley at the moment is they programmed him with Orange Cassidy. He came off the Bryan Danielson thing pretty hot for what AEW is. Like, people were interested in this, and we all excited, and they put him in there with the guy who puts his hands in his pockets, who I like, who's never been a main eventer. Like, they really dropped the ball with the fact that they should have programmed him with Darby right away. Right, because Darby is a guy they could have sold some stuff with. It could have been interesting, but Tony just he just pushes things down the path for some reason. Like, the fact that Moxley hasn't really worked with a lot of top guys, with the exception of tonight where he beat 3 of them in a row, like it hasn't fired on all cylinders. Like, I think that's a problem with the booking is they should have Moxley just murdering dudes. Literally, he's trying to kill people. Like, he should be doing that. Yeah, he should be doing it. Yes, consistently. And I think Adam Copeland gets that. So I think that Copeland will lay down for Moxley because it means something. Edge already lost to Roman Seth. Oh, sorry. Transfer Heat says Edge already lost to Roman Seth, so Tony clearly wants to complete the Shield circle.
It's a good point.
That's something Tony would want to do.
Yeah, he's never.
They even did a Shield moment in that match to make sure that
really
Moxley got his power bomb pound of flesh. I
did
that one in there.
I thought that was some nice comeuppance. Actually, I did get a good chuckle out of that. And then Moxley fucked up the back of his head really nice. I never saw a dude bleeding out of the back of his skull before.
That was cool. Gnarly.
It was gnarly.
That was pretty sick. I dug that. All right, we are over our allotted 60 minutes, but we are not going away. We're still gonna talk. Jeremy came on here just because he wanted to talk New Japan. I was like, well, like if you're gonna get to your New Japan stuff, you got to sit through the AEW stuff.
You got to cover through all of it.
Stuff works. That's how this stuff works. I don't know that we need to go through every single match because
you tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll talk.
I will pitch the matches to you, and you tell me what's going on. Because I'll be honest, I have not really been keeping up with New Japan a whole lot.
Guilty.
So
okay, so we're going to give you the 3-minute lowdown of everything that's going on in New Japan before we get into the
Cliff Notes.
Speaking of strong style,
yes.
Speaking of strong style.
When does your show air, by the way, and where can people find it?
We go live 5:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, but we're going to go live on the days after Wrestle Kingdom at 5:30 p.m. Eastern with my partner Stephen Conway, who'll be in Japan, and we'll be talking about the shows as they happen the days after the show. But 5:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so, what happened this year was in January, you had Nick Nemeth show up and claim fame and bring the global title to its knees, winning it from David Finlay. At the same time, Will Ospreay, Tama Tonga, and Kazuchika Okada all decided to give their notice to New Japan Pro Wrestling, throwing everything into chaos. So for the first 4 months of the year, we were reeling from people leaving and the people coming in being severely underwhelming. By April, we had...
Are you saying the great Nick Nemeth, the TNA champion, is underwhelming? The hell you say?
Him and Matt Riddle both really set the world on fire
suck, both of them.
for New Japan Pro Wrestling. By that point, we had the New Japan Cup and Yota Tsuji was on the come up. John Moxley proceeded to take the IWGP World Title from Tetsuya Naito and hold court from Chicago all the way to about July, holding that title until the G1 came by. Zack Sabre Jr. won the G1, and instead of going to Wrestle Kingdom with his title shot, he declared that he was going to take on Tetsuya Naito at the King of Pro Wrestling in October, where he proceeded to win the IWGP title and then get challenged by three people over the next few weeks, which were Shingo Takagi, Shota Umino, and I forgot who the last one was.
Ricochet.
Oh, Sanada. No,
Oh.
it was Sanada. All the people who beat him in the G1.
Japanese Ricochet.
Yes. At the point where the last of his challenges from the G1, Shota Umino wanted to challenge him, Ricochet also challenged him, which then set up the 2 title matches for the Tokyo Dome back in November. A somewhat underwhelming setup for the New Japan scenario for Wrestle Kingdom, but now we find ourselves in a position of excellent matches that are under-promising and bound to over-deliver.
Yeah, and I am going to be curious about the ticket sales for this one to see exactly how many people are going, because the lineup is not filled with like major must-see like matches like we've had in the past. AEW really did a number on that roster. They signed up all their top talent. They signed up all their top talent, including the greatest that they've ever had in Kazuchika Okada.
WWE helped out.
WWE did a little bit too. WWE signed Tama Tonga, so we got to give them some credit too. But
and Tangaloa,
yeah,
and Hikuleo,
Hikuleo.
And
all right,
they wanted Hinare, but Hinare didn't go.
All right, let's go. I'm going to start with. Here we go. All right, we got Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Evil in a Final Road special single match. Jeremy, who we got in this one?
All right, so this is a lumberjack match. About 3 weeks ago, the stipulations changed that if Tanahashi loses, he's going to retire. Everybody, do you think that New Japan Pro Wrestling would allow a guy that could contribute to ticket sales for the next 11 months, including another Tokyo Dome, that they're going to hotshot him losing and retiring now?
The president of the company?
So. What is that?
Isn't he?
He's going to be president of the company, but he is going to actively retire next year at the Wrestle Kingdom 20. But about 3 weeks ago at a World Tag League match angle, he proposed that if he doesn't beat Evil, he will retire at this Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
safe money.
pretty sure he's going to win that match.
Yeah, he's beating Evil. I think that House of Torture will be involved in this match during the duration of it. It's a lumberjack match. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Let's go to the next match.
There's going to be a little House of Torture buffet because the TV title match is right before it with Ren Narita, and then Evil is in the match right afterwards. So all the House of Torture will be kind of buttressed right in the beginning of
okay. Takagi and Takeshita, never openweight championship match. And I think the winner goes on to Dynasty to challenge to defend the title against Ishii, right? Like both titles?
Yes, sir. It is now a winner-take-all match. And the winner will walk away with both the Never title and the International title. This has the potential to be a match of the year candidate, if we're frankly speaking.
For sure.
This is going to be a special match. Shingo Takagi is at the top of his level and fails to deliver a top-level performance anytime he's in the ring in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's been a backbone of the promotion. And a lot of everyone who listens to the show has seen Takeshita. You know what Takeshita is. And when he goes in that ring with Shingo Takagi, he's going to blow everyone's mind, and we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I know they all like Zach. Yeah, I know they all like Zack Sabre Jr., but I like Mike Gilbert, who passively watches New Japan now because again, AEW signed all their talent. I would have had Shingo Takagi as my world champion and my top star. I just happen to think that he's just incredible. And as far as I'm looking at the roster right now, and he's like out of everybody, I think he's the best that they got.
He is the number 2 guy for me to have the title. I think Zack Sabre Jr. is the guy to hold the title right now. In my mind, the perfect Wrestle Kingdom main event this year was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Konosuke Takeshita. But we're not getting that.
So who do you think? Do you think Takeshita beats Takagi here?
Yes, I do, because there's really no meat or interest to the idea of Shingo versus Ishii on a crossover show, Wrestle Dynasty. Doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
They beat
No.
Shingo a lot too. Like
They
did.
Shingo's pretty Teflon there.
He's kind of number 3 in his own stable right now. Maybe 4th. You know,
Wow.
Naito, Hiromu, and Yoda are kind of in front of him right now.
Next up, we got Junior Heavyweight Championship, Doki versus El Desperado. El Desperado, like one of the most improved wrestlers I think I've seen. Like the guy just keeps getting better. I think he's great.
Both of these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about Doki?
He's just a big fan of Green Day's first album, Dookie.
No, this dude.
Sorry.
This dude worked at the Independence on Mexico. Like, he didn't work for CMLL. He didn't work for AAA. He was working for the shitty promotions, like applying his craft. And he got a shot with New Japan about 2021 because a couple of guys dropped out of the Super Junior tournament, taking a bunch of losses, just being a guy. And he got his ass all the way to being the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, not even part of the dojo system. This dude is unreal.
That is pretty freaking difficult to do. And for you to be able, like, because Takagi is like similar, right? He was not part of the New Japan.
He came up Dragon's Gate, but he had a pedigree and an ability to train with all the Japanese dojos. Doki didn't have anything like that.
Gotcha.
And so when you see him in the ring and you see what he can do, it is a testament to how amazing this guy is. And Desperado, I kind of expect him to win. I'd love to see Doki winning, because Doki, to me, has the single best finisher in wrestling right now. It is an elevated German suplex into a rolling pin where he holds the guy in a full Nelson as he lifts him up, German suplex him, and holds him for a pin.
Nice. So who do you got in that? Tell us who's winning.
I think Doki wins, but it's a toss-up, in all honesty.
Okay. Next up, Yota Tsuji versus David Finlay for the Global Heavyweight Championship.
David Finlay is completely underrated as the head of Bullet Club. There's a lot of people that want to remember what they think of David Finlay when he was part of FinJuice and TNA and doing a lot of these other things. But newsflash, David Finlay is a hard-hitting son of a bitch in that ring. And he hits hard, and he tells a great story in the ring. I don't think this was supposed to be the match. I think it was supposed to be Yuya Uemura in this spot based off of things that David Finlay has said in the ring, matchups with Taichi and a couple other people from that stable, Sonata joining Bullet Club from the Just Five Guys stable. Everything was all lined up for this to be Yuya Uemura. For that reason, I tend to think Finlay is going to retain this match. Yota Tsuji is going to look great, but Yota Tsuji's story is about Yota Tsuji, and there's not necessarily anything about the global title and him winning it right now that seems to be the direction. Instead, there have been stories in New Japan where the Reiwa, Yota Tsuji, Shota Umino, Ren Narita, and Yuya Uemura, they're going to struggle before they succeed. And I think we're going to see a moment here where Yota Tsuji's been very successful. He won the New Japan Cup, came in second at the G1, but at the big Tokyo Dome, he's going to fall. And I think those are the kind of stories I like to tell in New Japan. Yeah,
I thought they were going to pull the trigger on Yota Tsuji like a year or two ago, and it looks like they still haven't. They're still telling that story of his rise to the top. So, kind of like what they're doing with Shota Umino with him being in the main event. But maybe
I think they're going to have very, very similar trajectories this year leading into next year.
Gotcha. Maybe they'll put Tsuji in the main event next year. Next up, co-main event: Tetsuya Naito versus Hiromu Takahashi. Is Takahashi going up to heavyweight?
No.
Okay.
But he's going to be fluctuating in between. He was in the World Tag League. He wrestled the Never Openweight title against Hinare. Was supposed to do it again before Hinare again. So they're putting him out of the junior heavyweight division, but they're not committing him to it in that way. I think he's just going to be one of those guys that bounces in between because of his immense popularity.
Liger.
Very much so.
Yeah.
There's a chance that he comes out of it, but everything is in such a state of flux with New Japan that I don't think they want to commit to any specific division. I think the direction is one of these guys is going to win, obviously. It should probably be Hiromu, but I think it'll be Naito, and then they're going to go ahead and be a tag team for the first half of 2025.
Gotcha. And then, of course, main event, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino. Who you got in that one?
I think Zack Sabre Jr. is going to win this match. There's a lot of people that haven't really bought into Shota Umino being the guy to challenge, but there was an absence of people at the top this year. When all was said and done, and if you weren't going to bring a guy from the outside to be the main event challenger for Zack Sabre Jr., you weren't going to want it to be Naito because they already did that match. Everyone would lose their mind if it was a guy like Evil or somebody like that. So when you start, like, the ranks get a little thinner, Shota Umino ended up being the guy. And they did a lot of work trying to build him up as a sympathetic babyface that people don't feel like he has a chance, but he has that fire and he's going to do it anyways. And, you know, it's like they want to believe that he believes kind of thing. Shota Umino definitely has a confidence issue with his performances and the way that he is perceived by the ring. But this is all can be turned into a positive to help him grow into that full main eventer. You know, this is why they talk about people not being ready in 2 years and it takes 3 years to make a main eventer. This is exactly why. It's like he's had his moments of the sun. He's had that opportunity, but it was going to be tough at times and he was going to struggle on the way to the top. And trust me, 2024 was not a kind year to Shota Umino, both in and outside of the ring. So how he handles it and how he perseveres going into Wrestle Kingdom 20, where if it were me, he's the guy to retire Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah. That seems like the direction for him.
Gotcha. Okay. So we think Zach is obviously going to retain here, right? And then he's going to head over into the main event against Ricochet.
In my mind, if Shota won, that would make the IWGP Championship match on Wrestle Dynasty Shota versus Claudio Castagnoli.
Okay.
Do you think that's
it's Wrestle Dynasty? So this is a joint venture between AEW and New Japan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Ring of Honor and CMLL and Stardom. Theoretically.
Jeremy, don't act like Ring of Honor is different than AEW. Don't do that.
I will tell you, when they actually put a Ring of Honor match on here, I nearly shit myself.
That's so funny.
It was like, they did what? They actually did? Hell yeah. And then the match did.
You know what? That's right. Looks like they got Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus Kanemaru and Show. I wasn't going to talk about that one, though. But that is on the card.
That match is
and it looks like Athena's defending her title in the opening match, right?
Fight over a whiskey bottle.
Yeah. All right. Mina Shirakawa versus Mercedes Moné. 0% chance Mercedes loses, right?
I don't know. The Rev Pro title is super weird. Do you think Mercedes is going to go wrestle in Rev Pro? Really?
I do. She's only wrestled like 10 matches. She's got the time.
I don't think she is. I think it's just to elevate it in some way. I don't see Mercedes booked for any New Japan shows. I see Mina booked for some New Japan shows. I see this Rev Pro title that Mina has. And I think it's a lot more likely that Mina Shirakawa is going to Rev Pro shows to defend that title than Mercedes.
You don't think Andy wants Mercedes Moné to have that belt?
I absolutely think he does, but at the same time, there's a business aspect of what happens if she only has it one time and then drops the belt immediately.
That's fine.
Dude, I'm sure Andy Quinlan wants Mercedes
I'm throwing
Moné
all these things out there as a reason why I'm not 100% sure that it's a lockdown Mercedes wins this match. There's been something about it that makes me think I'm not sure she does.
Mercedes 3 belts. I've been silent on this, but
there's a belt connect. There's absolutely a belt collector gimmick in the wings here.
There isn't a
do with her
ghost chance in hell. Mina Shirakawa is going to beat Mercedes Moné for the Rev Pro title.
It's not happening. Let's go IWGP Tag Team Champion Decider match. I don't think I know what that means, but it's Great-O-Khan and Great-O-Khan's partner Silhouette versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson here.
This is a mess. This is a huge mess. During the World Tag League, Henare tore his ACL, and he and Great-O-Khan were the IWGP Tag Team Champions.
That sucks because Henare is great, by the way.
Henare is great. He's a beast. And Great-O-Khan has been pretty tremendous this year as well.
You know what? The initial rollout of Great-O-Khan was like over the top cheese, and I don't think it worked. But he turned himself into like a pretty fucking good character. I think he's really good.
I think the interesting thing is to see the rehabilitation of Great-O-Khan when Okada left.
Yeah. Hey, keep going. I'll be right back.
You got it. So here's what happened. Here's what happened with this title match. Okay. Hanari tore his ACL. And then they're like, oh shit, the Young Bucks are supposed to be doing this match. And instead of vacating it or maybe having Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi doing this match or doing a multi-person match, they went ahead and said Great Khan has vacated it, but he is going to wrestle alongside a mystery partner against the Young Bucks for the IWGP titles. For whatever reason, they have to get those titles on the Young Bucks. That's the implication that I'm getting out of all of this. And if I could be Jeff Cobb is the person that I think would be the partner.
Why not advertise that then? Why not just say it's going to be Jeff Cobb?
I don't know, because maybe they haven't completely decided yet, because it's probably going to be a United Empire member. The United Empire is completely decimated right now. It could be somebody like Mark Davis or somebody that they roll over from AEW, but it would make more sense to be a New Japan guy. At the end of the day, it's going to be whoever the Young Bucks want to be the other guy in that thing, be it Templario, be it Jeff Cobb, be it TJP or Akira, any one of the guys in the United Empire, in order to have the matches.
Jeff Cobb's probably the most interesting, but
Jeff Cobb is definitely the most interesting.
Like with most things with the Young Bucks, I just think, you know.
Well, the end game is going to be the Young Bucks dropping the titles in Japan to Hiromu and Naito.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Next up, Ishii challenging either Takagi or Takeshita, which I'm pretty sure we all believe is going to be Takeshita. And Ishii doesn't win matches, so Takeshita wins, right?
This match is going to be a slapper. Takeshita wins. Make time to watch it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yota Tsuji versus Jungle Boy's on this show?
Jack Perry.
Yeah, okay, Yota Tsuji versus Jungle Boy. I mean, please tell me Yota Tsuji's going to win.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank God.
Jack Perry is fun in New Japan, but this is all designed to get Yota Tsuji a win, presumably after he loses to David Finlay the night before.
Well, and Tony Khan sending a guy that he doesn't care if he wins or loses. So he's like,
there's a lot of people that Tony Khan seems to be sending that he doesn't seem to mind if they lose or not.
Yeah, or he doesn't seem to mind if he's on his television shows. So this one's interesting because I'm curious about how they book this one. David Finlay versus Brody King. I think it's going to be a good match, but I think that Brody King is a guy that AEW really needs to start getting behind. But I think on paper, it looks like Finlay will probably win this match because he's in a more elevated position in his company than Brody King is in his company. But eventually, I think they're going to have to start getting behind Brody King. I know they're going to sign the next WWE fired and push him over Brody King. That's what the fuck they do in this company. But eventually, they're going to have to push Brody.
Brody King gets the highest ceiling from the House of Black. Fight me.
Oh, yeah. Who would fight you on that? It's obvious.
Yeah.
From day one.
I want to make that clear. He is the best of that. He is the most affable to work with. He is the one that seems least likely to bitch about his booking. Everything about him is like, you are a model employee and I like you.
Yeah. Book him. Book him like him. Be amazing.
Next up,
I expect it to be kind of similar to that
without the title.
Brody King match on the C2, where Finlay is just kind of struggling to beat him, but there's going to be a level of brutality to it that I think I'm going to be here for.
Okay. Yeah, it should be pretty good. Shota Umino versus Claudio Castagnoli. I mean, they gotta put over Shota on this one, right?
I think so, but I wouldn't rule out Moxley showing up and fucking over Shota.
Okay.
Is Shota out of the doghouse?
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, Moxley sent a video saying, I'm not going to bother showing up for you. If he's not on Dynamite, keep an eye out. He might even be on Dynamite and then be a crazy person and fly to Japan just to fuck with that match at the very end.
He would do that.
You know what happened on Impact one time is Sami Callihan teleported one time from the Impact Zone in Nashville to Jacksonville on the same night during a taping there. So they did this pay-per-view with Impact where the main event was Moose versus Kenny Omega, but that was from Daly's place. It was taped, right? That was from Daly's place.
Mm-hmm.
And Sami Callihan was in a match earlier in the night and he came to attack Kenny Omega and he somehow teleported from Nashville to Orlando. And I wrote a whole article about the probability of him being able to catch a private jet from Nashville to Orlando. It was a whole thing I did, a whole bit. Maybe that's what he's doing.
Who knows, man? The whole thing is just Moxley does this gimmick, right? He takes over a promotion and he's like, you have to fight me to win this thing back. He did it in GCW, he did it in New Japan, and now he's doing it in AEW. Yeah. And it's fine, but by the time he's gotten doing it in AEW, seen him doing it in all these other promotions, you're kind of like, this is what you do. Okay. This is your signature move. Let's run it back.
Yeah. Kenny Omega returns to the ring for New Japan / AEW, and he's going up against Buzz Sawyer's grandson, I think, Gabe Kidd.
That's a great comparison.
Like
That's really
Buzz Sawyer might have run roughshod over right before he died in the 90s in the UK at some point, and met Gabe Kidd's mom, because he really reminds me of Buzz Sawyer.
Gabe Kidd, you either love him or hate him. And there's a lot of people that hate Gabe Kidd because they think he's dangerous. They think he's reckless. They think whatever it is about pro wrestling, he's the bad part of. And I look at pro wrestling as like, man, you make me feel like pro wrestling is real when I see you. And that is the best compliment I can give a guy, is when I see him and I think, I believe you when you are in that ring. And he has gotten better this year. There were moments that he had that showed like a maturity and growth. Instead of being the madman raging and trying to get the attention on him, he would do something and then he would quietly let the moment sink in, stomping around the ring rather than pantomiming and being all Hulk smash at the same time. Little things like that have made me very, very confident in what he's going to be able to do in the ring with Kenny Omega. And when I get to Kenny Omega, my immediate gut instinct is temper your expectations. Don't expect the best bout machine. Just expect and be happy that Kenny Omega is back in a ring, getting his confidence back, getting his timing back, and getting the love from the fans. Because you may think that going back in front of 25,000 people in front of the Tokyo Dome might suck, but they are going to love him and they're going to will him to succeed no matter what happens in that match. And it is the best place for him.
That's what I was saying earlier. I think it's a good environment for Kenny to have his comeback match, because he's not going to have to do the Kenny Omega match. He's going to work with a brawler who was going to respect the shit out of him, but has that edge to it that's going to be interesting. And Kenny's going to do great things with Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd's probably going to have the best match of his career. If you don't have the best match of your career with Kenny Omega, I don't know what you're doing. So I think it's super interesting. I like that Kenny probably sees it as a challenge, and he's not going to have to do all the crazy Kenny Omega shit. So I think it's smart booking.
We're going to get one spot where Gabe Kidd suplexes Kenny Omega's midsection through a table, and it's going to be the heat for the entire match.
Yeah. Main event is very likely Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet. Ricochet doesn't belong anywhere near a Tokyo Dome main event at this point. He's a geek. Tony Khan has just totally destroyed this guy. I think they think that they're getting him over as a heel, and they might be right, but it's like not a heel that you want to see in the main event. Like, he is a geek heel. But that's what we're getting. That's what they're sending over to the Tokyo Dome. Either way, Ricochet loses, right?
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
The card on New Japan says card subject to change. And interestingly enough, Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega is listed higher on the card than Zack Sabre Jr. and Ricochet. It is listed as the main event of the show.
Well, so that's why you did that with the slideshow you sent me. I tried to pull up the slides on the StreamYard thing, but it wasn't working. So I've just been going back and forth.
Yeah. So according to the New Japan, they said card is subject to change, but when they have it on their website, that is the last match on the card for that.
Okay.
And I think the card subject to change has to do with the flexibility and the fluctuations between who wins what title. Like, Finley would be below Yoda if Yoda won that match, and ended up being Yoda versus Jack Perry for the global title. And it would be Finley versus Brody King non-title. So I think that's why it's card subject to change. I don't think Kenny Omega should not be the main event of this show.
Yeah. I am not, like, if your world title match isn't that interesting, you could have you can have the more interesting match on top.
Yeah. No favors have been done to New Japan with the booking of Ricochet. Ricochet has shown up one time in November to propagate this match. He didn't show up in Long Beach, to do any build for this match. He's done no video packages. He's literally just a guy having a match with a guy who might be the IWGP champion on January 5th. And frankly, and for the best, given how he's been booked like a fucking geek.
Okay, hold on. I don't think we can blame Tony for this altogether, because Ricochet has shown up and not held up his end of the bargain. Like, he's not been great in the ring. He's not been anything special to write home about. Ricochet came here thinking he was just going to be over because he's Ricochet. And like, he's one of these dudes that came over from WWE thinking he was good, that he was bigger than the promotion. So I think Ricochet has kind of earned his spot as being a geek. And I don't think it's fair to book Tony. I think this is what Tony should do to guys who come in and don't want to get here. They should get treated like a geek and get thrown toilet paper at them.
Yeah,
I just think Ricochet's wrestling instincts are completely all over the place, and he has no sense of self-preservation in this business whatsoever.
And I really think they should have pivoted off of that match for the main event. It's pro wrestling, guys. It's fake. You can just put whatever match that you want. If a guy is not getting over, or if he's being a geek on the way in, guess what? You can sign a different match. You could put a more interesting match together. There's other people on this card that they could have put in that position. You could have elevated anybody else. It did not have to be Ricochet.
That's easily said to Tony, hey, we're not doing our show. Ricochet in your IWGP title match.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Ricochet, we talk about wrestlers being selfish and protective of their characters. And there are guys like Ricochet that have no sense of preservation whatsoever. And he is just like, yeah, let's do that for your character. My guy will do this instead. And it's just like, he's the giving tree, and he's giving everything to Swerve and to Lashley and to all these other guys. And what he's able to do in the ring is not making up for what he's given away.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for our preview of Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. They're going back-to-back nights, January 4th and January 5th from the Tokyo Dome. I'm not really sure on how this is going to do. Hey, I got a question for you guys, though. Before we sign off, I do have a question. You know the TNA intro song, Cross the Line? You guys remember that song?
If I heard it, I'd be like, yeah, I know it.
You know their theme song with the intro song. Have you ever listened to that song and was like, what if that were a country song? JD, come back.
This is my destiny. It is the truth I see in this world.
Welcoming the next era.
A way to cross the line.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Honestly, you need to go home every Sunday night with that song. Take it home. Rock you sleep on a Sunday night with the Cross the Line country style.
Yeah, they never should have gave me AI. That was really a bad thing to give me.
AI was a mistake.
AI was definitely a mistake. But but that is going to do it for us.
It wasn't a mistake for me to come on the show with you tonight because I had a blast.
Yes, thank you so much, Jeremy Finestone, an OG of Brace for Impact, the guy that put JD and I together. We're thankful of him. Our wives hate him.
I'm the asshole.
Yes. Yep. He is the reason why I've been stuck with JD for 3 years on podcasts. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeremy. Speaking of strong style on the Fight Game Media Network, now we've moved off of Thursdays, so you've picked up the slack, and now you're a Thursday show, right?
Yeah, I just show up and I record whenever somebody has an idea for me to talk about something. And New Japan just kind of trucks along and does its own thing. Sometimes it has a big show. We'll do a live show, like a reaction. But that's like once or twice a year. People can just kind of pick up their shows and watch them and check in every Thursday because, you got that streaming service and people, they're watching it overnight. And the majority of people are not getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to watch a New Japan show. They're picking up the shows here and there whenever they can.
Yeah. No sane person is doing that. It's only crazy-ass wrestling fans and even worse, crazy-ass podcasters like you. So those are the only people that are doing that. But check out Jeremy Finestone on the Fight Game Media Network. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel. Make sure you're a subscriber to this YouTube channel. We just crossed 2,000 subscriptions, so thank you very much. But also head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. I did a good 90-minute Brace for Impact yesterday morning. I had a fun time doing that. We're back tonight. This audio is going to be immediately up on the Patreon, so go over to the Patreon. And then I'm going to be back like throughout the week, just popping in as news breaks to do some stuff. JD already has something in the can that he forgot to email me that I need to upload. But
I did.
I'm also going to harass JD to talk about comic books and Superman.
Yeah.
We have stuff to unpack, and maybe other people want to hear what we have to say.
I think that an occasional like comic book men type show with JD and Jeremy, I think would get over pretty well on our network. We do have some crossover with comic book, but we'll be back throughout the week doing some stuff. JD's got something that's going to be uploaded here pretty soon, I'm sure. But thanks everybody for being here. That's going to do it for us on the Mike and JD show. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game.